During the Be Here Baltimore pilot, we funded local creators, museums, and neighborhood organizations to tell the story of Baltimore in their own words. Some decided to tell their stories with video.
My name is Janice Curtis Green, storyteller and proud Black Baltimorean. And let me tell you about my city. The Orchard Street Church is the oldest still standing structure in Baltimore, constructed by and for African Americans.
I think sometimes we don't give enough credit to this beautiful statue in Baltimore. Right. It is one of the only statues of Billie Holiday that I know of
in the world. In the world.
That's fabulous.
And I kept saying, like, I know them. That's Drew Hill. They were like, you don't know them. They're not from Baltimore. I was like, no, Drew Hill. That's a park in Baltimore. And they was like, nah, you don't know them. So like that's one. Like so when I think about like music and I think about Drew Hill, that's so Baltimore to me.
Some, like these examples, incorporated interviews.
What do I want viewers to take away with them from this mural when they see it? It's all about, well, the title of the mural, which is We Can Get By with a Little Help from Our Friends. In other words, let's work together as Earth people.
My name is Frank Antosca. Everybody that comes to the Copycat to rent a place gets my phone number, so I'm the face and the voice of the Copycat. You know, some of it still escapes me as to why people choose to live here. It's a very eclectic community, and it is a community. It's more than just getting an apartment somewhere. You could go to Town and Country Apartments and not know the guy next door to you for 10 years. Here, people have common areas. The loading dock where everybody throws their used stuff is probably Baltimore famous.
Bailey's was started in 1886 by my grandfather. It was primarily all fish. It was an outside market at that time frame. And he sold all kinds of fresh seafood and game. And it was a very active and busy market because there weren't any grocery stores at that time frame.
Others, like these examples, decided to tell the story in their own voice.
You are at Penn and North, the epicenter of what we refer to as the unrest that followed the death of Freddie Gray in 2015. There is more to Penn and North than that. At 2426 Pennsylvania Avenue is one of the storied institutions of West Baltimore. This is the Arch Social Club.
If you look at the intersection of Northway and York Road, you'll notice two things. First, a large stone wall that reaches north to Old Cold Spring Lane and south almost to 42nd Street. Second, you'll notice a one-way sign leading out of the community. Both of these designs were created for the specific reason to keep people out.
Everyone's Place African Culture Center is one of 54 Black-owned bookstores remaining in the United States. They have been in business for 30 years. If you want to be in a place that smells so good, come here.
At this house on 108 Montgomery Street was a funeral home founded by Roland Brown's father. But plans for an extension of I-95 through Sharp-Leadenhall and over Baltimore's Inner Harbor meant that all the homes on the street were slated for demolition. All the residents were forced to leave, and even after the plans for the interstate extension were scrapped in the mid-1970s, the homes remained derelict. In the late 1970s, however, as part of the Dollar Homes program under then-Mayor William Donald Schaefer, the residences were auctioned off and, miraculously, Roland Brown was able to purchase the home he had grown up in, an option not available to most of the displaced residents of Sharp-Leadenhall, who lacked the requisite credit to qualify for the housing program.
You will have seen all the bars that are here in Fells Point. The community was awash with bars back then, too. These drinking holes served as gathering places for off-duty sailors to carouse and get drunk. Fells Point was literally Baltimore's sailor town, full of taverns and disorderly houses.
Siegfried Weisberger emigrated from Austria in 1912 and opened the Peabody Book Shop and Beer Stoop at 913 North Charles Street in 1922. A bookstore in front, serving beer in the back, the Peabody was a haunt of Baltimore writer H.L. Mencken and became a Mount Vernon institution. A 1954 New York Times article described the Peabody as a musty shop, a scene of scholarly chaos. If there are counters, they are invisible beneath an avalanche of volumes ranging from collections of Bach madrigals to cookbooks.
In 2015, Baltimore residents took to the streets and took on confronting the police after a young man named Freddie Gray died while in police custody. After this uprising, the city was put under curfew for days and occupied by the National Guard. All residents, including artists and cultural activists, had a different perspective on what level of authority they would welcome within their community. Rather than continue the temporary projects, the Station North Arts and Entertainment District commissioned outside mosaic artist Lauren Cornish to adorn the Koban with a permanent installation. He used mirrored glass to reverse the perspective of the surveillance the structure was designed for.
In 1921, Eubie Blake and Noble Sissel joined forces with the vaudeville comedy duo Florney Miller and Aubrey Lyles to write a Broadway musical, Shuffle Along. When the all-black musical and cast premiered in May of 1921 at an obscure New York theater, it forever transformed the Great White Way's bright lights.
We even had a local storytelling organization take their live stories and geolocate them on the app.
It was raining and it was raw, and my daughter was at a music lesson, and I needed a place to keep out of the weather, so I decided to drop into the Walters Art Museum here in Mount Vernon. And what I saw there really changed my life. I was wandering around the galleries, and I ended up in the ancient Roman portrait room. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with ancient Roman portraits, they're a lot like decapitated heads. The Walters did something rather unusual. They set many of their best portraits squarely out in the middle of the room where you can see them from all angles, kind of like a cocktail party. So I got to see the back of the heads for once, and I absolutely fell in love with the hairstyle on this dead chick named Julia Domna.
And we'll leave you with this one last quote that encapsulates the whole idea of the Be Here project.
I feel like everything's art, and everything can tell you a story, so I kind of just suck it in from wherever.